welcome back to Prem Talk. Yet another video, and this is going to be a first of a kind general review of game week 1 of the English Premier League that just concluded yesterday, with the final game being Leeds and Everton. So we are gonna take a look at all the games and take our findings, and then now call it a day and look forward to the next game week in the coming weeks. This is the video where we'll talk about, how boring Arsenal were, though sneaking in a win against United. City showing their teeth very early on. Liverpool, though showing rumbles, eventually overcoming the threats of Bournemouth. Chelsea disappointingly drawing, although I am not going to be looking at the Chelsea review game because I already did it. I think you can find the link to the Chelsea review game up here. I will put the link there, I believe, and you can check it out if you want. And give the video a like, give your comments down there. Tell me your thoughts about the game also. So such things will also go towards the Spurs game, who started on fire, and all those things, and also looking at the relegation battles and everything. Welcome, guys, to the video, and now we begin. So the Premier League started on Friday, and first game to open the league was rightfully so Liverpool at Anfield playing against Bournemouth, which will give the opportunity for the Anfield crowd and everyone associated with Liverpool and the Premier League to have it all tuned in there, as we all paid tribute to the late Diego Jota, who, as we all know, passed away with his brother in a dangerous car accident. I believe it was 2 months ago. Rest in peace, Jota. So the Premier League started there on Friday, and the game was fun. It was a really fun game to watch. Liverpool, as I always mention from in my videos when I was talking about Chelsea predictions of possibly Chelsea winning the league and whatnot, I did mention in most of them that Liverpool are the biggest threat if Chelsea are to be looking to take a title this season. And it's simply because Liverpool have a very, very threatening attack. They have an attack that I feel will score at every single game because their attackers are tremendous. They have goals everywhere. Where we might say that Liverpool may have deficiencies is in a bit of depth in the attack, especially at the striker position, since they did decide to let Darwin Nunes leave. So at the moment, the only striker or out and out nine, or fluid nine that they love to play with nowadays, it's only one of them in Hugo Ekitike, and there's no one else. So Liverpool may continue to dive into the market for Alexander Isak. I do not know, but they add that on top of the firepower of Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, uh, Mohamed Salah, and Cody Gakpo just chilling along and giving his contribution down that left-hand side. Liverpool are a very, very dangerous threat on the attack. And the only flaw to their game, and it's a very big flaw, is the fact that they are wide, wide open at the back. You can easily get at Liverpool, uh, especially on the wings, bearing in mind that this season they have changed both fullbacks from last season in Kekej and Frimpong, swapping out Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who left to Real Madrid. So it is going to take a while before that back four get to learn each other's game, but generally Liverpool are going to be a problem, especially that attack. You cannot keep that attack out, and it proved very early on as Hugo Ekitike proved everyone wrong who doubted whether he is a proper nine and could play the Premier League by getting a first goal, which he created for himself, in all honesty. And then we also had him setting up Cody Gakpo for the second goal, and you could see that Liverpool were parring on. They were parring very, very seriously, but then again their frailties came to light, with Bournemouth managing to bring the game back level with Antoine Semenyo. I must say the biggest victory for Bournemouth in this transfer window is the fact that they have managed to retain all but one of their attackers from last season, I believe, and that's Dango Ouattara, who's had just left to join Brentford. So Bournemouth do have a very threatening attack, no doubt, and how their style of play is generally going to cause a lot of big teams problem, because uh, they play a high intensity game. They press very, very high. They force you into mistakes. They lure you into traps and force you to commit a lot of ball turnovers. And on the counter, they are very deadly. And that proved to be the case in both goals scored by Antoine Semenyo, showed his class here. And then, sadly for them, despite the fact that they brought the game back level to 2-2, they were sick of the sight of Federico Chiesa, who appeared from the depths of almost leaving, and then all of a sudden getting a very, very important, crucial third goal for Liverpool. And when it all looked like he was going to be the eventual winner, there comes Mohamed Salah to announce himself that he is still around and the king of Liverpool. So Liverpool showed their attacking threat in this game, and they also showed their weaknesses at the back. But as for Bournemouth, it's not a game that they were expected to win in any case. But at least for them they competed, and in all realistic terms, they were never going. This is not their bread and butter in the league. They're going to be getting their points elsewhere. That was the first game, and we move on to the second one. It was a uh, early kickoff of Saturday, and it was Villa Newcastle, the two now European clubs. Both will be playing in Europe this season, with Newcastle in the Champions League, Aston Villa in the Europa League. And despite a very, very spirited and strong performance from Newcastle, they still could not manage to find a way past the well-inspired second-choice keeper now at Aston Villa in Marco Bizot. Fresh and new, they brought him in from Brest in France. So uh, he managed to have a really wonderful game, staving out the threats of Harvey Barnes, Anthony Elanga and Anthony Gordon. And the game ended up being nil-nil, despite the efforts of those three. And also Aston Villa had their chances here and there, with only Watkins being culpable of a few misses here and there. So fun, entertaining game, although the game ended at nil-nil, sadly. Then into the 5 o'clock games, and allow me to start with the Brighton Fulham game. And it's followed the same theme for Brighton, in which they played so well and then all of a sudden allowed opposition back into the game. We saw this happen a lot to them last season. I remember very well, like a game against Wolves at the Amex Stadium, their home ground last season. They led 2-0 and somehow contrived to end up drawing the game when having led 2-0 with was it around 6-7 minutes to go, and that's of added time, I believe. So they followed the same trend in their first game this season, with them dominating for 82 minutes in this game. They took an early lead there from the penalty spot. Jorginho Rute, their remaining striker there, and he was felled in the box. and that allowed the opportunity for Matt O'Reilly to slot into the back of the net for 1-0. And they continued to dominate, missed a lot of chances. I'm looking at you, Mitoma. I'm looking at you, Yankuba Minte, missed a lot of chances. And all of a sudden, Fulham, as they do best, because they were the kings of this last season too, scoring a 95th, 96th minute winner from Rodrigo Muniz, the same culprit who again I remember very well last season, a game I'll never forget, around Christmas time when Fulham came to Stamford Bridge and Rodrigo Muniz decided to spoil our early Christmas celebrations, with a late minute two second goal to take the victory from Stamford Bridge away from us. So they've done this before, and it seems they are taking this also into the new season. So the game ended 1-1. Disappointing, of course, for Brighton, who led for a very long time in this game, but somehow ended up only taking a point. And into the next game, Spurs started on fire. Spurs thrashing Burnley 3-0. And Richarlison showing his skills, reminding people that he's still around. Mohamed Kudus, I believe it was his competitive debut in his Premier League debut, sorry, and he was terrorizing Lindsay Hartman, the left back of Burnley, a lot in this game, and he managed to get the assist for Richarlison's first goal, and Richarlison showing his strengths very early on and getting his two goals, I believe. And Brendan Johnson reminding people of the threat that he has. If there's one thing I learned from Spurs preseason games that I managed to watch, is that they also have some, well, kind of squad, very high quality depth in attack too, especially on the wings and in the front areas. So they are going to be a challenge. They are going to be a problem. But generally for Spurs, anything this season above 10th is already an improvement on 17th last season. So they are ticking along really well, and they have a really good manager in Thomas Frank. As for Burnley, realistically, this is another game in which they were not expected to win. This is not where they're going to be taking their bread and butter. And for them, it is vitally important to win their home game, starting with their uh, first home game, I believe, coming up next weekend. So that becomes a must win for Burnley. And in all honesty, for me, it's very tough to see them staying up this season. I actually am predicting them very early on that they will be one of the teams getting relegated, sadly. And into the next game we do go, and it was Sunderland, another newly promoted club, who thoroughly and deservedly thrashed West Ham 3 goals to nil. And this game just proved to me that these guys honestly do have a chance of staying up. In all honesty, I do not see them going down. I'm giving them a 90% chance that they are going to stay up in this Premier League because they have a lot of quality in that team. On the wings with Simon Adingra and Chemseldine Talbi, two very young, dynamic wingers, very fun to watch, love to dribble, love to take on their men, and they have a very wide variety of strikers in there. They have target men in there in the form of Wilson Isidore, and they recently loaned Mark Guiu from my club, Chelsea Football Club. And on the wings, with that threat that they have to go alongside with Eliza Mayenda, also in midfield, the strengths of Habib Diarra, Noah Sadiki, and Granit Xhaka, the experienced Granit Xhaka. So they really do have a really wonderful team, and they have also strengthened at the back in defense and the goalkeeper. and 3-0 is really not a surprise to me, generally because uh, moving on to West Ham, I did predict them very early on that they are going to be struggling in this league. I will not be surprised that you can clip this. I will not be surprised if West Ham end up going down because they have really been terrible. And Graham Potter could be one of the managers to get sacked very early, very early on, because things are not going well for him there in currently at West Ham. So those were the 5 o'clock games, and we move into the 7:30 p.m. game, the last game of Saturday, where Wolverhampton Wanderers welcomed Manchester City to the Molineux Stadium, and it was a very weird 4-0 victory for Manchester City simply because Wolves dominated that game for long periods, created a lot of good chances, especially on the break. But City with their quality, despite Haaland not getting too many touches of the ball, he still managed to get his goal. And we also had Tijani Reinders announcing himself, Ryan Sheki now announcing himself as a threat. That this game was just there to remind us that City are really going to be a threat this season, and they are going to be challengers, complete, concrete title challengers in this Premier League this season. So watch out for the strengths of Manchester City. They showed their strengths, they showed their class. Haaland getting a double, and Tijani Reinders and Ryan Cherky, two fresh toys that they brought this season, and into the Manchester City starting lineup and into the goals. They have already opened their accounts for this season. So City are going to be a problem. And as for Wolves, unfortunate, they did play well. They will not go down. In all honesty, they're one of those teams that will always be finishing there in between 15th and 11th. That is where they will end up this season. They are not a bad team. They will face some struggles along the way, but they will get some tremendous victories because they also have some very good players. The big thing is that they retained most of their important players. Yes, they did lose out on Matthias Cunha, so they replaced him well though. So it wouldn't really be much of a miss for them. That was the end of Saturday's games. And into Sunday, we do go now, and I allow me to start. Of course, I'll only be focusing on 2 games here, the Forest game and the Arsenal game, simply because I already did the Chelsea preview game as mentioned. Link again, you'll find it above there. And first game, of course, Forest against. Forest against Brentford, and this game really did not teach me much that I did not know. I already had in my uh, early predictions that Brentford are one of the teams that will not surprise me if they go down, simply because they've lost. I believe I was reading somewhere 2/3 of their goals that they scored last season in Johan Wissa and Brian Belmo. Wissa is still there, but clearly he wants to leave because he has declared that he doesn't want to play and wants a move. You can understand him because he is in the twilight of his career, and realistically, it could be his last opportunity to go and play, in the top tier European championships, aka the Champions League or even the Europa League. But I do understand that he's very keenly looking at Newcastle simply because of that Champions League football. It's a huge opportunity for him. So for Brentford, they end up lose if they end up losing out on Brian Belmo, which they've already done, and Johan Wissa, then that's a huge amount of goals that they'll be losing. In fairness to them, they do have the striker in Igor Thiago, who they signed actually last summer. He was meant to be their main striker last season. Sadly, he suffered injury and was not there for most of the season. And now he comes on, and the Brentford faithful will be hoping that he is able to get the important goals for them this season. But I do have them struggling and going down sadly this season. Somewhere there in the regions of 18th and 19th. That will not be a surprise to me because they've lost out on a very, very huge amount of goals last season. So Forest will not did not surprise me in all honesty. They've replaced well. Uh, they are they've used the market really well. They've bought a lot of shrewd signings. McAtee, they have bought Omari Hutchinson, Arno Kalimwendo, that's a striker, and in Dan Doe, a very dangerous threat on the wings too. So they have really done well, and the key business for them, they have retained their creative spark in Morgan Gibbs White. So Forest will do well this season. They will do well. I do not know whether they'll challenge, whether they'll be able to challenge again for Europe, but I do predict that possibly they could sneak into another Conference League spot. I'm saying another, and yet where they have gotten bumped after to the Europa League, but they could sneak in a European spot again this season because they've bought well and they have a really good attack, and their defense, as we all know, it's very relatively solid in there. That was a game. Forest 3, Brentford 1. Dan Doy getting his goal, and of course the experienced Chris Wood getting two along the way. Into the big game of the weekend, now we go in Arsenal playing Manchester United, and honestly, the saying of snatching a victory from the jaws of defeat. I believe this is the complete, exact, fitting title and best way to describe Arsenal's performance. They snatched victory from the jaws of victory, or from the jaws of losing to Manchester United. How, you may ask me? They were totally second best in this game. Manchester United really played well, and they should rightfully feel aggrieved. Although part of it their own doing because they simply cannot finish their dinner, despite the fact of a freshly a brand new attack. We did manage to see two of them in Belmo and Matias Cunha. In all honesty, they had the most shots of the games. It's not for the want of trying, but Manchester United really need to start getting goals into their team because last season that was their main problem. Uh, Only completing the season with around 40, 45 goals was very poor, and hence why they did splash a lot of cash on the attack in Benjamin Sheshko, in Matias Cunha and Brian Belmo. So they will be hoping that those three end up firing more goals that they need this season if they are going to be seriously causing problems and looking to get back to the top chambers of the English Premier League. So, despite all that, missed chances, Arsenal did get their goal from a corner FC, as we all know, but you can't begrudge them. Corners, set pieces are also part of the game. So they did get their goal there, Ricardo Calafiori, but they themselves know that they are really going to have to do a very better improvement job if they are going to be getting closer to challenging, let alone winning this league. And finally, to close the video, Leeds playing Everton, and generally, I watched the game yesterday night, and it was a deserved victory for Leeds, although Everton can feel unfairly treated by the fact that the penalty they conceded uh, was a 50-50 call. In all honesty, it's a call in which, depending on the referee, some may give it, some may not, but the judgment was, I believe, that despite the hands being at his back, he did lean into the ball. I believe hence making himself bigger. And by the fact that it was blocked a shot, we do not know whether it was going to go in. But the fact that he blocked it and it caught him on under the sleeve, so it ended up being a penalty. But they could feel hard done by that call simply because some referees will give it, some will not. So, though despite all that, Leeds did deserve to win. They played really wonderful. Their wingers were very threatening in Dan James and Wilfred Nyonto, and they do in the end deserve their 3 points. So that's it for the video, analyzing the full Premier League game week, of course, apart from the Chelsea game, which I analyzed yesterday. So, tell me, guys, how you like it in the comment. Let me know if it's something that we could continue doing the reviews. So, that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye.